We didn't exactly get a bright and sunny California last time out, and Texas has decided to follow suit with some decidedly gloomy skies. But it's hard to feel down when it's go fast day as we get ready for qualifying in the Porsche Sprint Challenge USA West Series. I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Joey Atterbury. Joey, this is an absolutely massive track for these cars.
It's a huge track, an FIA Grade 1 facility out here. Yes, the same circuit that we run Formula 1 on a little bit later in the year. It's pretty cool to share the same racetracks with those superstars out here. And I mean, talk about one behemoth of a racetrack. It is a gnarly racetrack with tons of elevation. And not only that, Joe, but I think we also have a little bit of mixed weather out here this weekend, something that these drivers should be used to by now.
Yeah, very much so. And they got quite a bit of it over at Sonoma, that's for sure. But it should at least be dry for this session. We might see some rain a little bit later today. We'll see whether or not that actually comes into effect. For now, it is go as quick as you can, and a nice grippy track this morning as we are in qualifying for the USA West Series. All four classes are out and running currently. This is the only of the three series that we have this weekend that run multi-class for Porsche's ladder system. So it is going to be somewhat interesting in that front, but the good news is I think there's a few enough cars out there, Joey, that I don't think traffic will be a serious issue.
You can already see the gaps are pretty well spaced out here, and I agree with you. I think that there's going to be plenty of racetrack that we've got down here in Austin, Texas for all of our competitors, especially in the USA West Series, to try to find their little happy piece on the racetrack, and like you said, go fast today.
Now, one to watch out for is this man, the 295 of Brandon Hankins, as he has been winning each and every race so far up in the Pro-Ams for the GT3 Cup class. Has really been unchallenged. He'll try and continue that dominance, and so far so good in terms of lap time. Currently sitting on our provisional pole with a fair gap over Mark Krigler. This is down into one of the more slower technical sections through here, through the stadium, and eventually up and around the tower.
This is that, call it turn 15 complex. They're coming up to what is turn 15 on the racetrack right now, and I really do feel like COTA is truly split into three sectors where you've got, you know, big iconic turn number 1, big red out there. You go through the S's, and then consider sector number 2 kind of the big long straightaway, and then sector number 3, Brandon Hankins pretty much just entered right here around the long triple apex right-hander, and then feed it into 19 and 20.
See what kind of lap he puts in this time. Looks like actually it was 2:07.7, so that was an improvement. Continuing to cut it down. They get 20 minutes out here to try and set their best lap. And so far, Hankins has come out swinging. Now, I do see that Manny Gilles de Riel has gotten onto the circuit. He is our lone Masters driver in the Cup cars. So he's mostly going to be trying to keep up with Hankins and Krigler once he gets some times in. But we'll see where he stacks up, as we did miss out on him back at Sonoma. I haven't seen him since the Apex Motor Club out at Phoenix.
Brandon Hankins, though, has done a terrific job in this USA West Series. Since you were just kind of mentioning some of the history that we've had here in 2026, I think if we're looking at these GT3 Cup cars, especially in the Pro-Am class, it has been all Brandon Hankins. I mean, he started off over there at Apex Motor Club at the beginning of the year with a tremendous weekend, and then has really carried that momentum throughout the USA West Series so far here in 2026.
In fact, he did bounce back from adversity. It hasn't been him just up front all the time. Back at Sonoma Race 1, he had to try and come from the back of the field after, I believe he started from pit lane and charged his way up to the front and took the overall win. So certainly knows how to fight his way past a few cars if something does happen here. But looking to check and see where we sit down in the Caymans, and it looks like Greg Herback currently ahead of Justin Lewis. And Greg is going to try and bounce back after he also had a bit of a hiccup at Sonoma. Had a penalty for passing under yellow, and that cost him what could have been 4 straight wins to start off this season. So he's got a bone to pick to try and find his way back up to the top step of the podium down in the Cayman Masters. What about Mark Krigler? What can he do? Sitting about 4.3 seconds off of Hankins currently.
Yeah, this is who we've got our cameras on right now, like you're just saying, Mark Krigler. You're in this 204 car, kind of a black-blue with a little bit of red striping on it. Currently sitting in second. Fastest lap is a little ways off of what Brandon Hankins was able to do not too long ago, so I think that Krigler is looking to get everything warmed up and really start this lap. Just looking at the sector times, I think he was still in the warm-up procedure out there, and now this is going to be one of our Cayman cars. I believe this is the 75 of Justin Lewis.
Indeed it is. And if you're watching some of the cars explore the limits of this track and you're wondering, well, it is kind of a talking point around here at COTA, trying to stay within track limits because it has so much paved runoff. They're watching a couple spots out here, at least on the inside of the apexes. They have to remain in contact with the red and white curbing. And then on the exits, I think that's really the bigger one, they must remain in contact with the outermost white line. And that is in turn 12, 19, and 20. We just saw him come out of the turns 19 and 20 there onto the main straight. That's going to be, I think, important ones. You don't want to have a good lap going, Joey, and then suddenly find yourself with a lap deleted right at the very end.
It's always a talking point here at Circuit of the Americas. You see all this beautiful pavement that we've got, and then it's pretty much painted. We do have the curbs to help kind of signify where the end of the racetrack is, but as a racing car driver, especially in sections like these, yeah, you can easily clip apexes or run out extra wide because guess what? You do have the grip out there. You do have all of that pavement. So I'm sure race control will be watching, and they've already had those conversations with the drivers to say exactly where you can and can't place your car on the racetrack, at least from a legal perspective. And Joe, the other thing, while we're starting the weekend out here, I want to give a big-time shout-out to Claude. He just created some new graphics for us, and this graphics package that we got is actually quite legible. I love reading it here on the screen between the colors and everything. It looks really good, and even the class legend on the bottom as well.
Helps us out a ton, that's for sure. So, yeah, glad to have nice bold lettering and numbering for our poor eyes to try and make sense of. Greg Herback as well, carrying on in the 49. The other thing that we should mention, since we did see it on screen while we were talking about the track limits, is you may have noticed the tire bundles that they put at the apexes up through that S's section. That could be a real danger for these drivers because, yes, you could kind of push them out of the way, but you're going to do some damage to the car. So you have to treat those with respect if you are pushing it a little bit over the top through there.
They looked pretty serious looking out there, so yeah, I would try to venture to stay away from those big, giant tire bundles through the S's. Looks like we're coming up to, call it about halfway through this 20-minute qualifying session that we've got for USA West. About 12 and a half minutes still remaining on the clock. This is Greg Herback that we're currently watching in our Masters class pole position right now. We're going to see if he can actually go a little bit faster. Last time by was a 2:16.1. Don't see it going any faster.
No, not that time by, unfortunately. Does look like Del Real has put in a quick sector 2, so I'm keeping an eye on whether or not he can go a little bit faster. He's still trying to catch up with Krigler there in the GT3 Cup Cayman Masters, or GT3 Cup Masters, I should say. Getting the classes all mixed up here. Is looks like he also is unfortunately not going to be able to go any faster. Still sitting at a 2:13.7. Needs just a little bit to get up to Krigler. Now again, they're not fighting for in-class position since Krigler is a Pro-Am. But because there are fewer numbers of cars out here in the USA West Series, they're very much looking at getting that overall within either the GT3 Cup or the Caymans, whichever you might be running this weekend. Like Joey mentioned, about half of the session left to go, so we're well into it. But we always talk about it, Joey. At what point do you say, you know, that's the most I can get out of it, and maybe it's time to just preserve the tires for the race?
certainly could be one of those factors out here. Here's the 270 of Manny Gilles, putting in some laps out there, getting acquainted with this Circuit of the Americas track. And I got to say that he's right on the back of what Mark Krigler did the previous lap time. Now, the overall lap time still about 1.5, 1.7 seconds off of Krigler. And, of course, they are in the two different classes as well. So how much do you really want to push it? And to your point, Joe, these are the tires that they're going to have to use in the race. And there's a great example of some of those track limits that you were just mentioning a couple minutes ago.
Exactly. That's going wide. That was turn 11, though, and I don't think that's one that they are watching for that. So I think he will be able to get away. Next one, though, turn 12, absolutely has to stay within that white line, the outermost white line. So let's watch and see. And, yeah, he is well within the boundaries on that one. So definitely paying a lot more respect where he knows it matters.
This is in the incredible technical sector number 2. Call it feeding into sector number 3 right about here. Coming out of turn number 15 and then accelerate our way into the triple apex of 16, 17, and 18. This is one long sweeping right-hand corner where the drivers really kind of have to balance the car, whether they want more acceleration out of the back end, if they need a little bit more front end. To keep the nose tucked in and come down here into turn number 20. Turn number 19, actually, I think is one of the most tricky corners on this racetrack.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of elevation change, and coming up and across that sharp corner definitely is difficult. I do love one of the features that we've introduced here is live speed of the cars here on our timing tower. We could see it before from the onboards, but having it, and that could be very useful, I think, when we start to watch during the race, see who's got an advantage coming out of turns 11, places like that where you really want to get that launch.
Going through the S's, nice and clipping every single apex there, maybe just a touch late on the right-hander of what would be, call it turn number 6 through the S's. Oh, and a little bit of a wiggle right through there. That was also turn number 7, call it. And now this is up and over the hill. And now we go down towards turn number 11 and out onto the back straightaway.
Exactly. I've been watching the times, and Manny again was quick in the second sector last time, but still didn't manage to cut down on the second and a half that he needed to get to Krigler. Still remains in third amongst the Cup cars. Herback still our leader down in the Caymans. Obviously, as you can see, we've missed a few drivers that have not set a time yet. Don't know if they do plan to get out for the races themselves, though they have been participating in some of the sessions so far this weekend. That is one of the advantages of having the USA West Series and the North America Series sharing a weekend, Joey, is that if you feel like you need more track time, well, you could throw your name in and get out there, get a few more laps in.
I think that's the biggest appeal out of a lot of these, call it North American Sprint Challenge drivers, that if they are looking for that extra track time, yeah, USA West is here on the same weekend. And I noticed another big wiggle out of the 270 just there on screen. But yeah, it's basically same format, right? Same Sprint Challenge racing, same paddocks, same drivers. It's just an extra session, an extra race or two, depending on how much track time you want to go out there and do.
For sure, and with 7 minutes left actually now, we're down to what looks like only 2 cars left on track. Del Real and Justin Lewis. Lewis, though, personal best first sector. He's a second and a half off of Herback. Now, how much can he make up to catch that number 49? Unfortunately, it looks like his personal best is still off of Herback's best first sector by a good chunk of change. So it's going to take a lot in this next 2 sectors to try and catch him up. But still has at least a few laps. It does take more than 2 minutes to get around here, so probably not going to see more than 2 or 3 more laps here for Justin.
Here's the other side of qualifying. You mentioned about the tires. You know, you want to make sure that you take care of your tires. You're going to have to use them a little bit later. But The other thing is COTA is such a long, technical racetrack that sometimes it takes drivers a minute to get into the rhythm of things out there. So it could be that Justin Lewis has now found his footing out there after doing a few laps and is actually starting to really sort of push it. And I'm not sure if you saw the overhead shot, but the brake zone down into what was turn number 12 on this racetrack, we're actually getting some of the rotor glow because of the overcast skies that we have.
I didn't notice that. Yeah, that is interesting that it is that gloomy out. And again, we are expecting at least a little bit of rain this weekend. We just don't know which series is going to wind up getting it. As across the line for Justin Lewis, looks like he is going to find himself not improving once again. The 2:17.6 stays put with 5.5 minutes left to go for that number 75. Del Real is currently in the third sector himself. He's also been unable to make any more. And you made a good point, Joey. You think about those shorter circuits where you just iterate and iterate. It's probably a lot easier to find time, where here you see a corner once every 2.5 minutes.
And it's such a technical racetrack. Now, I know that most of us are used to seeing, kind of call it the formula cars go around COTA, and they fit this racetrack perfect. Now, the production cars, they also love Circuit of the Americas. However, look at this S section. Our car's much bigger and heavier than a formula car or a sports racer, so the drivers, they have to be on car placement to the absolute down to the percentile. Otherwise, they're not on the racing line and they're losing time out there. And it's not just one corner. It's not just one sector. It's the entire lap. COTA, one corner always feeds into the next. The only caveat might be turn 11 and 12, the long back straightaway.
You could see the last lap for Justin was a bit off of his best so far in this session. Now, am I seeing right? It looks like he may have backed off, so I wonder if he's on a cool-down lap to push again, or if he's just coming on in this time.
I think we'll find out here in about, a handful of corners time?
Yeah, exactly.
There's not that much time remaining, right? I have a feeling that if he tried, he could probably do 2 more timed laps. Let's see if we get the rotors here being still on a cool-down lap. Not quite as much in that shot, and I think it's just because of basically just a little bit of a slower lap.
And, we talked about Greg Herback having that penalty costing him a win. What that meant is that Justin Lewis took his first victory in the USA West Series last time at Sonoma, so he was pretty happy about that. He is going to try and repeat that. It'll be difficult, I think, since Greg has been so quick this weekend. But as we see, if you keep it on the island, there is always a shot. You got to just stick with it. But now we wait to see whether or not he is going to be coming into pit lane as he gets close to the end of the lap. Joey and I are just positioned on that final corner, and he is coming into pit lane. So that is it for our qualifying. All cars have wrapped up. That gives you our starting order unofficially, with Brandon Hankins on the pole position. Mark Krigler is going to be next to him on that front row. Gilles Del Real is going to be starting from third. Then we get to our Caymans with Greg Herback starting on the top spot for the Cayman class. Justin Lewis next to him. We'll see whether or not we get a couple more cars joining us for the race itself. As that wraps up our USA West qualifying. We'll be back with more action here in just a bit as we return for the Porsche Sprint Challenge North America GT3 Cup qualifying at 10:30.